This thing on? The light's on. Looks a little smudgy. That's better. How's my teeth? Anything in my teeth? Any nose hairs poking out? Any boogers? Good? No? Okay. So it's already June. Can you believe it's already June? That was fast. May went by really fast. May was a really busy month. I'm going to tell you all about the real estate market in Calgary for May of 2021. And this is what I call my, see here, my one take hot take market update. Because I'm going to do it in one take. The reason I do it in one take is because I'm best when I just wing it. I don't like editing video. It's really boring. So I'm just going to go for it. I'm just going to do this, and it's going to take about 15 minutes. So grab a beer, make yourself comfortable. Cheers. And let's go through this. It's going to be one take, and it's going to be hot. Like it's hot out. Like the market is hot. You see what I did there? That was pretty clever. I'm clever. As usual, I'm going to break it down into different segments of the market, because if you ask me how the market's doing, I'm going to respond with a question. I'm going to say, well, what part of the market? Are you a seller? Are you a buyer? It's a little bit more of a nuanced answer. So I'm going to give you an overall picture of the market, and then as usual, as you've come to expect from these things, I'm going to break it down into different segments of the residential real estate market, and I'll tell you what's happening there. So let's get started. Oh, by the way, do you like my new logo? I'm pretty proud of that. I designed it myself. I had to get an actual, graphics guy to create the graphics for me, because I don't know how to do that. But that's my new logo. That's going to be on everything. I'm going to put that shit on everything, like Frank's Red Hot. So let's get started. I'm going to show you the overall trend as promised. So this is the whole real estate market, residential real estate in Calgary. I don't work just in Calgary. I work surrounding areas. I live in Airdrie. I work lots in Airdrie too. But very similar picture. So what you're going to see there are red bars, gray bars, and a white line. The red bars, that is the sales volume. The gray bars, that is the inventory volume, the amount of inventory available. And that white line is the benchmark price. So the benchmark price, it's not necessarily the average price. It's the price of a typical home that is sold. So they create a composite of what a typical home that sells in Calgary is, such and such square feet, this many bedrooms, whatever. And they track that composite. So I like what that line's doing. That price is going up, and that aligns with the y-axis on the right side of the graph, right? So coming up on 460,000 and up from just over 400,000, like 410,000 a year ago. Now you got to remember, as we're going through these stats and these graphics, a lot of these statistics are year-over-year figures. And to put that into context, this time last year, pretty bad. We just had our best May ever in the Calgary Real Estate Board, ever. Just under 3,000 sales, 2,989 sales. Now down a bit from April. So as I see that the red bars there, this way, the red bars there, sales went down a little bit from April, and the gray bars, inventory, went up a little bit from April. So I always say that to mind that gap, the difference between inventory and price. Now, again, this is all across all product types, apartments and townhouses and duplexes and houses. So the inventory is doing some catching up with the sales demand. But overall, things are still a seller's market in most categories, and still very busy, and still a lot of demand and not quite enough supply. So as you can see, compared to May of last year, forget about May last year. It was kind of crazy, right? Like we just gone into lockdown, and the whole world was kind of turned upside down. So, the year-over-year comparisons aren't super relevant. But the trend is relevant. So if you look what the market did, the sales went up and up and up. It kind of peaked in April, because we had just an absolute blowout April, really, really crazy month. And May, still a great May, but slow down just a tiny bit. Now, as we go through these, there's the statistics and the data and the figures, which is important. it tells you I'm not just making stuff up. But I also want to share some context to down on the street level, actually going out and listing properties and representing buyers and buying properties and what I'm seeing and how I think things are shaping up and what I'm predicting. So we're going to start into detached. Let's go there. So detached homes. This is the hottest product in Calgary right now. Cheers. Again, these are year over year figures. So they're very dramatic increases, right? 3,197 units on the market, up almost 6%. So the inventory is increasing. The trend matters. 1,911 detached homes sold in Calgary last month, up 185%. Again, we're comparing to May of 2020, which was kind of a disaster. It was actually, I think, the worst May ever in the Calgary Real Estate Board. So we went from the worst May ever to the best May ever. It's been a hell of a ride. New listings, 2,732 new listings. So you can see there's more new listings going on than being sold. But still, when we look at the percentage, I think we're still, around around 75%. That's still a seller's market. That still means the seller's in the driver's seat. There are more buyers than sellers. That makes it a seller's market. You want to be a seller right now. Average price. This is mega. Almost 596,000. We're creeping up. We're inching up to 600K. That's up 15.5% over last year. Now, this sort of leads the way that I told you this last month. What I think is going to happen in real estate in Calgary is that as those detached homes become more in demand and the supply continues to struggle to keep up, the price just keeps going up and up and up. People want to live in a detached home primarily. People are getting rid of their apartments. They're spending more. So that average price, it's not just a factor of houses going up in price, though they are. It's also a factor of people spending more. So, your average buyer buying can afford more of a house because of the low interest rates. So people are buying more expensive houses and houses are getting more expensive. Both of those things are true. Anyways, back to my prediction. It's getting to where first-time buyers and young people are not going to be able to afford a detached home. 600 grand on average. 600 grand is getting out of reach for a lot of buyers. Even you need 5% down. That's $30,000 you got to come up with, and you're going to have a pretty big mortgage payment. And you're going to have to meet the stress test requirements. You're going to have to meet a qualifying rate, which just went up again. So it's getting harder and harder for first-time buyers to get that detached home. So I'm predicting a trickle-down effect to the other categories, the other classifications of residential real estate. And as that gap grows bigger between, houses and then duplexes, and then townhouses, and then apartments, more buyers will start going back to those other categories, and those will come up as well. So days on market for May, average of 26 days on market, means you list your detached home. It takes you 26 days to achieve a firm sale. That's on average. So half of them are faster than that, half of them are slower, but that's including a condition period. That's fast. That's a quick turnaround. And almost 99% sale to list price ratio. So, people are getting, on average, almost their full asking price. You're probably seeing a lot of social media posts and a lot of realtor stuff where they're saying, hey, sold this, multiple offers above asking price. And yes, a lot of that happening. But on average, people are getting just under 99% of what they're asking, because there's still some people that ask too much. If you ask too much, you can still ask too much for your house in this market. It still has a market value that a good realtor will be able to, predict for you using a market analysis, a comparative market analysis. You can still ask too much. And if you ask too much, you don't get 100% of what you ask. You get what it's worth. People will pay what it's worth. But what a lot of people are doing right now is listing it for maybe a little bit below what it's worth, and then generate an auction over a weekend, get 5 or 6 or more I've heard 20, 30 offers on some places and get way above asking. So that's a matter of strategy. But on average, you take all that stuff combined, people are getting what they're asking for their detached homes. So that's sort of the breakdown. And if I look at the trend, again, red bars are sales volume, gray bars are inventory, the white line is the price. Just keeps going up. And again, when you see from April to May, that gap, April was so crazy, so was March for that matter. Almost every house that was going on the market was being sold. So coming into May, a lot more inventory came on, and you got to understand, you expect that there are a lot of people, that have watched the value of their houses go down over the last, 5 or 6 years through 2019, and are now watching it come back up. A lot of people that have needed to sell 2 years ago, but couldn't afford to sell because they didn't have the equity, and now they're jumping into the market. So the inventory is coming up, and the sales volume cooled off just a tiny bit, compared to April. Still a big month, but as that gap widens, we get closer to a sort of a balanced market. Still very much in a seller's market here. So if you're selling your detached home, the market favors you. Okay, so the next category is semi-detached. So that's a duplex, half of a duplex, one shared wall, one party wall, a roof mate. Okay, and this is becoming a really hot product too, because say if you want to live more closer to city center, but you don't want to be in an apartment or a condo, you don't want to pay condo fees, you want a yard, you want a garage, that semi-detached product offers a really good alternative, can save you some money versus a detached home, or can get you more house for the same money. So in a similar location, that semi-detached house for the same kind of money, it's maybe nicer inside, maybe a few more square feet, that sort of thing. So this market is getting really, really popular. And it's undersupplied. So if you look for sale, 557, not a lot of inventory out there. And a lot of that is because, a lot of these are infills, and builders they're on their heels. Like they had a 1 year gap where they weren't building much, and now they're trying to catch up, and they're facing, supply shortages on all kinds of different materials. So, they're trying to catch up. The builders are trying to catch up to get that product out there, but people are buying it as fast as or faster than they can put it out. So 281 of those sold last month. 375 new added to the market. Price way up again year over year, but average price. So you can see compared to that 589 or whatever of the detached, that typical, that benchmark. Semi-detached home is quite a bit cheaper, a little more affordability there, and almost all the benefits of a detached home. So you can see why that's getting popular. Days on market, just 30 days. So including a condition period, and sold versus list price, pretty close to where the detached is, almost 99% of what they're asking people are getting. So just to go to the trend on that, you're going to see a similar thing to what you're seeing in detached, where the inventory is starting to catch up a little bit. That gap between sales and inventory is getting a little wider, and the price continues to rise. So all good news there. My next category is row home. So these are your townhouses, right? 4 or 5 or more in a row, typically a condominium. Condominium doesn't mean apartment. Condominium means shared ownership. I can clarify that for anyone that wants a bit of an education on that. So I want to talk about the data on here, and then I want to talk a little bit about my own anecdotal experience working with buyers and sellers in this market. So again, numbers all up, and again, a reminder, this is year over year, okay? 1,063 listings, 418 of those sold last month. 658 new listings hit the market. Price way up, $327,000 is the average price on those. 41 days on market. So again, takes little bit longer to sell a row home than it does a duplex or a detached, because there is a little more product and there is a bigger gap between the sales and the demand and the inventory, the supply. Sold versus list price, still pretty high, almost 98%. Now, anecdotally, in my own experience, if you followed my social media, my Instagram for a long time, I have a popular feature called 3 Under 300, which I put out every Friday. Well, most Fridays. I've missed a few Fridays. Sorry. But it used to be, a year or 2 years ago, I could go on the MLS, and if I wanted to feature some townhomes, I got a whole pile of them. I could pick a different community, and I could show you 3 really nice townhomes with a garage under 300. And in my experience right now, I'm working with some buyers that are looking for that kind of product, people with that about 300 or less budget, some first-time buyers and stuff. It's getting harder and harder to find a really nice townhome under 300K. So, I'm witnessing that. I'm experiencing that firsthand working with buyers. I'm working with sellers on those too. I'm about to list one that should go live on the market today. A townhouse with a garage in Panorama, 3 bedrooms, for $279. So I'll let you know how that goes, how long that's going to take to sell, what kind of interest I get, because in my experience, I tried to book a showing tour the other day to go look at 4 different townhomes, and 3 of them ended up being conditionally sold before we could confirm our viewing. So this stuff is getting bought up really quick. So this is something to watch. Again, this trickle down effect as the detached homes and the semi-detached homes start to price themselves out of people's reach. This is where they're going to look next. Okay, well, let's get a townhouse. At the most, you have 1 or 2 common walls. 1 wall if you're an end unit, 2 walls if you're an inside unit. Condo fees are usually pretty affordable because they're typically a bare land condo that there's not a lot of shared property to maintain. So this is the next step. So people that can't quite afford to get into a detached, they're looking at these, and a lot of them, you get a garage, you get a yard. It's good value for the money, but that stuff's coming up too. It's getting harder to buy those. And if I show you the trend on those, bear with me. I'm producing this live as we go, so I don't have to edit it later. If you look at the trend, that price, pretty straight line shooting up like that. Mirror image here. And as you can see, compared to detached or semi-detached, that gap, right, between the gray bar, the inventory, and the red bar, the sales, quite a bit wider. So still, closer to a buyer's market on these, but I don't expect that to last the way things are going. And in my experience out on the street, it's getting harder to buy these, and I think this product's going to get snapped up pretty quick too. And the same problem, the builders that build these things, there's not a lot of new stuff out there to pick from right now. 2 years ago, every builder had a stack of these to pick from, and they were throwing incentives at them, and 2 years of free condo fees and big discounts, and I'm not seeing that now. That stuff all got bought up, and there's very little to choose from. So I think we're going to see some big movement coming up on in this category of houses here. So keep your eye on that. But again, prices going up. Inventory continues to climb. The sales aren't quite meeting that, but keep your eye on that. My last category is apartments, and apartments, man, complicated. Tough go for apartments. There's some good news here though. The apartment market is still oversupplied. So if you look for sale, 1,965, there's almost 2,000 apartments for sale in Calgary now. A lot of those are downtown, and as you can imagine, a lot of people have abandoned those downtown apartments. Not just owners and residents, but also landlords. Because I know personally a lot of people that were using those as short-term rental properties. Airbnb thing, and since tourism kind of fell off a cliff last year, they can't fill up those Airbnbs, and they're not a good investment anymore. That'll change. Tourism's going to come around, but there has been this mass exodus out of the city center as people are working from home and changing their lifestyle. They don't want to be in a crowded apartment building in a shared elevator and shared hallways during a pandemic, obviously, and A lot of people getting rid of their apartments and then moving out, to the outer suburbs and getting, more affordable detached, semi-detached, and row homes. So we have a glut of supply. So almost 2,000 apartments for sale right now. Still a buyer's market on apartments, but the good news, prices are going up. And again, um, that's not necessarily people paying more, but it could be people spending more. Do you understand the distinction? So um, the type of apartments that people are buying are more expensive. And it's not just that apartments are gaining in value, it's just that more valuable apartments are being sold. Both of those are true. Again, same story with some of the other categories. But it's good news either way. Prices are going up on apartments after they've been circling the ball for quite a few years here. 379 apartments sold in Calgary last month. That's a 180% increase over this time last year. But nobody's buying apartments in May of 2020. So though that number looks impressive, you're comparing the best ever May to the worst ever May. So, but look at the figures, 797 more apartments hit the market. And another thing that I'm seeing out on the streets anecdotally are people are going, hey, the market's hot. I heard the market's hot. I watched a YouTube video. I talked to my realtor friend. Everyone likes to talk about real estate because it's important to everyone if you own a house. And the market's hot. Everyone says the market's hot. So maybe it's about time I sell my apartment. So, well, this is why I break down these market updates into different categories, because there's a pretty dramatic difference between what's going on in the apartment market in Calgary and what's going on in the other categories. So 797 new apartments hit the market in May, just 379 sold. Almost 2,000 of them on the market right now. Prices up, days on market 53. Takes almost twice as long on average to sell an apartment than it does to sell a house. But it's going in the right direction. That is improving. And my prediction is things trickle down, right? So you start at detached, and that price keeps going up to where people can't afford it. And so, maybe semi-detached is in their budget, and that price keeps going up so they can't afford it. So maybe, a row home is in their budget, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So as it trickles down, as the the detached homes lead the way and the prices go up beyond a lot of people's reach, I can see apartments getting hot again. Maybe later this year, they're going to look like a really good deal to me. You've got all these downtown high-rise apartments. Once downtown is flourishing again, I'd like to believe that's in the future as this province opens up. Downtown gets hot again. I can imagine a lot of people seeing these bargains going, wow, 289 grand, like for a really nice high-rise apartment under 300K with underground parking and some nice amenities and a gym and that sort of thing. I can see a lot of people turning back to that market. So I'm predicting, and you can check my predictions in 6 months, but I'm predicting towards the end of the year that this thing will pick up. And again, sold price to list price 96.64%. If it's priced right, you'll get what you're asking, right? And that's always true. So now if I look at the trend, and this is my last slide. So again, this is where you see that huge gap. The gray bar, the supply is way bigger than the red bar, the demand. Way more inventory than there are sales. So that is what defines a buyer's market. There's just way more sellers than buyers. 2,000 apartments on the market, only 300 some people a month, that put their money down to buy one, right? So do the math. But still improving. Supply keeps going up, and there's still lots of apartments coming around. I mean, there's still new high-rises being built, which is crazy. But supply keeps going up, and sales are kind of trending in the right direction. I mean, we went backwards a little bit in May, but I do believe that apartments are going to recover. If houses keep going the way they're going, if a benchmark house in Calgary starts getting into that 700,000, 800,000 range, then a $300,000 downtown apartment's going to look like a real steal. So keep your eye on that. At any rate, that is my hot take market update. How long did that take? That was 24 minutes. I told you 15 minutes, but probably I could have condensed that a bit, but I tend to ramble. If you're still here, thanks for watching. If you have any questions about the market, if you want to buy, if you want to sell, if you want to invest, I'm your guy. Have a great June, and I'll do this again next month. Bye.